Welcome to FedScoop TV and our special series on digital transformation heroes. I'm Wyatt Cash, and our guest today is Congressman Will Hurd. Congressman, thank you very much for being with us.
It's great to be here.
Terrific. Federal IT managers and you recognize that transformation depends on IT modernization. You've been a big champion of that. Can you point to some examples where you see government actually making some great progress in modernizing their IT?
Well, last Congress, the 114th Congress, two agencies transitioned into the cloud and saved $2 billion. That's a pretty good efficiency.
Yes.
And that's when you see more people being able to do that. The fact that Congress has allowed the CIOs of various agencies to have additional responsibilities and you can't hold somebody accountable for defending the digital infrastructure if they don't have all the authority to decide what widgets they put on that digital infrastructure. And so these are some victories that we're having in making sure the CIOs have all the tools that they need. My Modernizing Government Technology Act is going to be another tool that allows a CIO, if they save money modernizing, they can have access to that money for 3 years to do other modernization efforts. So there's no more of this, if you don't use it, you lose it. This is going to be another tool I think is going to be important for CIOs to have in their toolkit.
Well, I know a lot of people are encouraged by the progress that bill's been making and your leadership on that, so thank you for that. Next, I'd like to ask, with things like cloud services, containerization, agile development, they've sort of changed the outlook of what's possible. What's your sense of what is possible over the next 18 months to modernize government IT systems, especially if there's a little tailwind now with your bill?
Absolutely. You know, we have to stop thinking about projects in the government that takes years to complete. We have to get out of that mentality. We should be thinking in weeks to months to deliver services. How many agencies have a website and could be providing services via that website and aren't? You know, why do I have to go to a post office in order to get my passport renewed? Why can't I do that from the comfort of my own home? These are some very basic services that if the American people saw, they're going to feel a lot better about their government and what their government's providing. So these are the areas where we can see improved implementation automatically. And last year we had examples of the 90-day sprint that Tony Scott was the head of, doing things like I think it was 97% of the federal government went to two-factor authentication. That's a big deal, and he was able to accomplish that in 90 days. So we have examples of achieving big things in a short period of time, and we just got to keep that mentality.
Lastly, digital transformation also depends on kind of redirecting the workforce, the skills and the talent that we need. And so what do you see agencies needing to do to make sure they have those right skills? We know it's not always easy recruiting people to government, et cetera. What kind of ideas do you see taking effect that could help improve that work skill set?
It starts with having an inventory of all the jobs that are available and what skill sets are needed for that job. The GAO did a report, and they said there's something like 10,000 positions that are open within the IT area of the federal government. But we don't know, there's not a common job descriptions for many of the jobs within the IT branches of our government. We need to standardize that. We can take some private sector job descriptions and just use those in the public sector, make sure we know what kind of qualifications and certifications you need for those jobs so you know exactly what is needed before you begin. We got to start there, and that's something that's basic and should be able to be accomplished in a short time span. Once we understand what that need and how you move up that ladder, that's where you can make sure that as you move up and matriculate through an organization that you have all the right skill sets to get additional responsibility and move into higher office.
And lastly, can you comment a little bit about the flood of data that we're seeing that the government has to protect and manage, and more particularly about what you see that's going to be important to enable government employees to really have the tools that they need to harness and manage all that data?
Look, data is the coin of the realm, and we have access to so much of it that we're not using, and we could be making better decisions based on our data. The first bill I had an oversight role over was the Data Act, and that's something as simple as saying we should know, all the financial information within every branch of the federal government. Before the Data Act, you couldn't figure out how much money did the federal government spend on pencils, across the federal government. These are some basic tools, but we have to have the data architecture to do that. Data Act to help provide that, and now it's going to be focusing on the implementation.
Well, Congressman Hurd, thank you so much for joining us today and for your continued efforts to advance the work of government through technology.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. I'm Wyatt Cash with FedScoop TV. Look for more of our coverage at fedscoop.com. Thanks for watching.